Just who in the hell do you think you are?
Well...
That was awesome!
He's so cute. I'm good.
What's that?
He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy. Only he didn't use frickin'.
Look out!
Oh, wow.
I tried, guys.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Peron, and joining me here I have Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Well, today we are going to be hitting a subject that we sometimes hit every year, sometimes we skip it, and that is the Super Bowl, because you all know what gigantic sports football fans we are and how we enjoy what... Oh, no, wait a minute, that's not it. We like movie trailers, and we like movie commercials and spots like that, so every year we record the show and then fast forward through everything looking for movie trailers. Now, this used to be a little more exciting in the past because a lot of times all these new trailers and spots would not come out until the actual Super Bowl. That was part of the big deal of watching all these new commercials that would premiere and these trailers that would premiere. But over the last couple of years, they've been kind of putting them out earlier, ahead of time, like the day before or 2 days before, and you can watch them. So not all of them are completely shockingly new as far as being able to watch them, you know, for the first time during the actual game. And some of them haven't even been full-blown trailers like they used to. Sometimes they used to, I remember, they used to premiere an entire, 2.5-minute trailer, for example. This year, again, there were a few things that were kind of complete, but the majority of them were either 30-second spots or maybe 45-second spots or something like that. So it wasn't anything like unbelievable, but there were a couple of little really interesting things in the mix that we're going to talk about. Let's start off with Pirates of the Caribbean, the latest film called Dead Man Tell No Tales. Now, we've already seen a trailer that had premiered a couple months ago, and now they gave us a little bit more in the form of a spot. Now, Kyle, why don't you tell us about the actual trailer that we had seen before? Where does it look like we're going this time around?
Well, it looks like it's another supernatural pirate. This guy is Captain Salazar, and
it's played by Javier Bardem.
Yeah, and it looks like he's searching for Jack Sparrow. Well, the original trailer was just like one scene kind of like chopped up to make it run faster.
Right, he's attacking a boat, and he goes to the bottom of the boat, I guess, where a guy is either a prisoner or he's hiding in a cage.
I think he was in the fourth movie.
You think so?
That character.
And these, I don't want to call them ghosts, but they're kind of like underwater ghosty type of characters. They're slaughtering the crew as usual. They're sword fighting and they're getting their butt kicked. But they go to the bottom, and the captain comes out, and he approaches this guy, and what happens there?
Yeah, and he asks him, where's Jack Sparrow? And if you find him, to send him a message that Captain Salazar is basically after him. So,
yeah, he's a dead man or something like that. Now, what is it that we saw on this spot now?
The spot, it reveals a lot more about the actual movie, and we get to see Jeffrey Rush's character, Captain Barbossa, come back. We see...
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, Orlando Bloom is back. There's also speculation, I mean, you don't see it in the trailer, but that Keira Knightley's character is going to come back too. And we also get to see Jack Sparrow too.
Yeah, he's like covered in mud or something. It's like, and he's delivering his usual, comic kind of line. I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into, I think, when you watch these movies. There always seems to be, from my perspective, there always seems to be this excitement about, oh, this one looks different, this one looks better, this one looks... But they're usually the same kind of tone. You know that, you know what you're getting into. And I'll say it again, like I've said it a million times. especially because it's been a while since they actually put one of these together.
Yeah, the last one I think was like 2010 or something like that.
But
it was wild.
This one, at least the effects, they look so much more modern and clean. And again, maybe it's just the fact that it's been more than 2 or 3 years since we've seen one of these movies. But with special effects, they do progress so much that, I do notice like, ooh, that's an interesting looking, special effects. There were a lot of scenes where boats are like on fire and they're crashing into each other and that whole kind of thing. So I wouldn't say I'm going to be counting down the days, but this is the type of movie that I might see it. If I get the slightest positive review, I'll definitely see it. But I think it's worth seeing because, again, I've already seen the other ones. I might as well see this one.
The last one wasn't so good, so hopefully they'll improve and bring it back to the caliber it was before.
And this particular spot that they aired with Pirates had soundtrack from, I believe it was one of the Johnny Cash songs. So it's got a really creepy feel to it, and it works. I'm sure we're going to see at least one more before the movie comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Now, up next, we have a spot. Again, this is like a TV spot for Logan, the latest Wolverine incarnation. This one might be, we're not sure, but it might be the last one with Hugh Jackman playing the character because he's playing an older version of Logan, I guess, than we're used to seeing. And once again, we've already seen the trailer that came out again a couple months ago. And it was a red band trailer, I believe, right?
Well, yeah, they had a red band and a green band. And the red band trailer just had a little bit of extra bloody shots. That's it.
Well, why don't you tell us about where they seem to be going in this one?
Well, yeah, supposedly this takes place, like, remember in X-Men Days of Future Past how he wakes up and it's like 2020 or something, or 2023? Well, this is supposed to be like 2029 or something like that.
But is it a continuation of that timeline?
Yeah, and supposedly something happens between that time and this new time period where most of the mutants are dead and somehow Xavier and Logan's powers are slowly failing on them.
Okay.
And
what's this Old Man Logan thing that everybody keeps talking about?
Yeah, it's a comic run that they did. It was like a mini series kind of, which they kind of revived again recently, where it's like an Old West apocalyptic alternate reality where Logan is like alone and he was like mind tricked into killing all the X-Men. And so he basically feels like awful about it and he puts himself in like isolation. And during that period, the whole world basically comes to an end and the villains kind of take over, but then they start destroying each other. And then, so it's like the Old West, basically.
Well, I don't know if they're going to go that far.
Yeah, they can't
But I do notice, again, I don't follow the comic books. I only go with the movies. But they do seem to have a look of him being much older, somewhat isolated, like living on his own, and somehow Professor X gets back in the mix with him. And this is the older Professor X, not the James McAvoy X. This is Patrick Stewart's X. And he's all rugged and bearded, and he's got a little bit of hair or something. So it looks different. And now they're introducing a young girl that seems to be somewhat similar to Wolverine in terms of her powers. She seems to be very athletic and possibly also having claws. And he seems to be in this mode of protecting this girl for some reason. And the bad guys, I don't recognize the bad guys. To me, they look like some kind of military force with mutants.
Yeah, I forget what they're called exactly, but they're in the comics and they're basically a cyborg human like anti-mutant group. That they're basically just like extremists, like terrorist kind of people.
But are these also part of this Old Man Logan comic, or
no,
you think they're different?
This is like an X-Men, a normal X-Men
a different
comic.
Group from a different
like
version.
There's ones where like there's a guy that has treads for legs, and he basically is a tank, and like here they kind of do that, but they don't make it as crazy. Like you see some people have guns for arms. And some people have like just robot arms and like robot eyes and stuff.
Once again, the trailer is very good, very action filled. This is one of those I definitely want to see. I really enjoyed the last one when the last Wolverine film they did, the one that takes place in Japan.
Yeah, that was good.
That was the Wolverine, I think.
Yeah, the Wolverine. Yeah.
So we'll see. This might be, like I said, Hugh Jackman's last one, unless he ends up doing some kind of a team up with
Yeah,
with Deadpool.
I really hope they do that, because that would totally make a ton of money, and I would definitely like watch it like 10 times over if they did that.
And I'm pretty sure that once again on the Red Band trailer or either the regular trailer that they put out a couple of weeks ago, I think they used Johnny Cash once again in the trailer, because it plays well, because it does have that almost westerny type of twang to the music you're hearing. So okay, we're heading in the right direction here. We're going. This one is something that I'm interested in. After that, what else did we see? Oh, well, here's one that I really don't want to talk about, but I'll talk about it anyway because it's a legitimate big trailer. And I'm talking about Transformers 5, The Last Night. I honestly do not remember how many Transformer films I've seen from beginning to end. I'm not a fan of them. I absolutely loved the beginning of the first one, and then it turned into something different that I really wasn't that interested. And I might have seen maybe a second one, maybe in the theater. But then after that, I started waiting for them on DVD. And I think I've gotten to the point now where I think I fell asleep during the last one.
During the fourth one, I literally gave up halfway through.
I've
never done that with a movie unless I just fell asleep. But this one, I just literally got up and sat up. I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. This is so bad.
I believe that we are now with Mark Wahlberg as the star, no longer Shia LaBeouf.
This is basically, it's supposed to be a sequel to the last one where they had Mark Wahlberg.
And Michael Bay he's a very difficult person, and we're going to have to do a show just about him. I used to be a super big fan of his movies, and I really liked his earlier work. And I'm talking about The Rock and even Armageddon. But he is a cliche now. The man is just, you cannot get away from his slow motion and the flag waving and the guy looking at the horizon. He's not a real filmmaker anymore. He is what used to be an MTV, the equivalent of an MTV music director. Now they don't have, MTV doesn't even play music anymore. There's no such things as music videos.
Now it's just Teen Wolf and Scream.
Whatever, but
that's it.
That was Michael Bay. Michael Bay was the guy that could give you a 4-minute, super amazing looking, action-packed something, and now he's made a career out of turning that into 2.5-hour movies. Unfortunately, most of his movies, I just can, and I'm talking specifically about the Transformers. Maybe if I was a fan of Transformers to begin with, I wouldn't be so harsh on it. But don't get me wrong, watch this trailer. It is fantastic. The shots, the look, like every frame, it looks like something that was like produced in a computer, and it looks fantastic. But when you watch these movies, there's just nothing in them. There's like they're empty.
It's just a bunch of punching robots. And,
it's the equivalent
and bad like one-liners from the actual human character.
It's the equivalent of drinking Jolt. It is concentrated caffeine, spiked with something, and it only lasts about 20 minutes, and then you feel empty inside. That's what you get with Michael Bay. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a few great Michael Bay films, and I promise that one day soon we'll do a show about him. But he is just, I have to really think about the type of words I want to describe him with.
Yeah, out of all the Transformers movies, I think the third one was okay, but everything else was just total garbage.
And this one, I guess the hook of this one is kind of like, oh, Optimus Prime is acting like a bad guy. Oh, great. Now we're getting... This is good Spock, evil Spock.
This is just the new Fast and the Furious movie.
Which brings us to the Fast and the Furious. Again, the Fast and the Furious. I've talked about this franchise a while back in a positive manner. I believe James was with me when we were talking about it. The Fast and the Furious is a franchise. Obviously, there's no way around it. It's a movie that was turned into a franchise, and as they're pumping out movies, they're trying to figure out what direction are these movies heading into? How are you actually kind of switching genres, because you have to make them into something different? And somewhere along the line, the Fast and the Furious became from an adventure crime film, action crime, to a heist movie, a let's assemble a team and do something as a group movie. And you have a James Bondish type of bad guy, completely outrageous, and you have good guys that are now completely outrageous. They're one more outrageous than the other. It began happening maybe 2 movies ago, let's say,
I think it was the fifth one.
When they were hitting their peak of how popular these movies were getting. And I saw the last one in the theater. I think I saw it. And it was just, again...
I don't think you saw the last one yet.
I saw...
You didn't see 7. You saw 6 with me, but you didn't see 7 yet.
I don't even know what the hell I saw. But again, you have to kind of check yourself out. I wouldn't put it in the category of Transformers. But it seems to want to go in the direction of Transformers in terms of like, you have to completely shut down and say to yourself, I'm here to watch car chases and outrageous stunts. That's all I'm interested in doing. And that's basically it.
Well, it has a little bit more to that, especially with the last one, because the last one, they really tried... They kind of wanted to make it a Paul Walker tribute because he passed away.
They at least had that to
it
work with.
worked really well. And they also had Kurt Russell was in it.
Right. So
and he's going to be in the new one too.
Right.
You
really
need to see it, Dad.
But this one, Vin Diesel is turning evil. It's like, yeah, let's see. The movie's going to be 2 hours. That means he's going to be evil for about an hour and a half. And then at about the 90-minute mark, everybody realizes he's just faking it or something.
That's a cliche you can't really fix.
So, again, we're in Transformer world. Anyway, the story really doesn't matter.
There's no way to do that right unless you permanently make him a bad guy.
Right. But not only is he a bad guy, but now Jason Statham, the bad guy from the couple of other films, he's coming in to help the good guys. It's like, oh, come on. But you know what? Again, I can't complain. I can't say, what have you done to my Fast? No, I don't care what they've done with it. It's what it is. And you either go with it or you don't go with it.
Yeah, I go with it.
I accept it in terms of, I want to watch a movie with cars chasing and crashing and doing stunts and flips and guys beating each other up and nobody ever gets a cut in their face. Sure, that's okay. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's not Oscar material. It's just fun. I like it because it's just fun.
Oh my God. Let's take a quick break now and listen to a little spot from our friends at IC Robots. Not too long ago, they kind of hooked me on one of their shows. They were talking about Clash of the Titans action figures. So if you're into anything having to do with retro, vintage toys and 80s shows and all kinds of 80s and 70s vintage retro kind of games, television, movies, all of that geek culture that we love here at GeekFest Rants, take a look when you visit their site. They have a podcast called The Toys R Us Report, and we strongly recommend it. So have a listen.
Tune in to the Toys R Us Report for your weekly dose of pop culture talk that's out of this world. Movies, TV, toys, comics, and more every Wednesday on the IC Robots radio network at icrobots.com. What are you waiting for? It's time to get down or come up.
All right, we're back. Thank you guys from IC Robots. And let's continue with our Super Bowl Trailer Park show. Now, this isn't just films that they were showing us during these Super Bowl commercial breaks. Some of them were television related. One show they started to promote, and they actually showed us a little trailer, a little commercial for, is called The Handmaid's Tale, which I remember... It's based not only on a book, but I remember many years ago they did a film version of it, which wasn't that successful, but it was kind of controversial. And unfortunately, it's on Hulu, and not all the people have Hulu. You know, you have your Netflix people, you have your Hulu people, you have your Amazon Prime people. So this is it's kind of like a futuristic, women are basically owned religiously by men and they're being told what to do. And it's a sci-fi kind of a bleak future type of setting. It seems a little creepy and, I like creepy. So it's not the type of thing I'm going to be watching right as it goes because I don't have Hulu. But it's the type of thing that hopefully when they do put it out on DVD or something like that, or they stream it somewhere else. I guess because it's Hulu, they're only going to be streaming it in Hulu. So I would be interested, first of all, to hopefully get some kind of good ratings and then being able to rent it in some shape or form because I am interested. Like I said, the trailer was pretty captivating. So, we'll see which way it goes. Another television-related trailer or spot that they gave us is for Legion. Now, this is something that's been kind of sneaking up on us for a while now. It's another Marvel-related thing that is not necessarily a Netflix thing. This time around, it's FX. And from what I understand, it's from the makers of Fargo. Now, FX's Fargo is an excellent show. I absolutely love it. It's different, kind of like the movie, but even more different than the movie, more weird than the movie. This one, Cal, why don't you tell me a little bit about it? Because I know it's Marvel, so I know it's X-Men-ish or mutant-ish in some shape or form. But where did this come from?
It's really out there, even for me. I don't really 100% know every little detail. Like, I only know like that the character is I even forget his name, but the character is supposed to be the son of Charles Xavier in the comics, but I don't think they're doing that in this. And they're also not linking this with the X-Men movies, apparently. They're just saying, oh, it's mutants. But apparently they're not really linking it to the actual X-Men movies in any way.
Well, the trailers are pretty good because they put out a number of trailers and spots, and it's because I guess we're seeing an origin story. It's this character coming on into his powers, and you see him reacting to all these new things that are happening around him, and how he's able to manipulate the environment and almost like the reality that's in front of him. So it looks different. It feels different. It doesn't feel cheesy. It does have a little bit of a Sci-Fi Channel kind of flavor to it, but we'll see. Because again, because of these Fargo guys are involved, I'll give it the benefit of that. And it starts this week.
Yeah, it starts Wednesday for us. It's just like 2 days away. It looks really, really, really good.
All right, another big one that we knew they were going to show us something is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We already have a trailer, like I've been mentioning all through this episode. The trailer came out a little bit ago. Very funny. Again, Groot steals the show pretty much. Baby Groot this time around. And they're continuing with the Baby Groot punchlines of him saying and doing these bizarre little things. The movie seems to be continuing in that tone. We've talked about this before, how Guardians seems to be the most child accessible of these Marvel films because it is the lightest, funniest of all of the different Marvel films that are around. I mean, I would say it's even lighter than Ant-Man, and Ant-Man was pretty light. The trailer that we watched originally, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, if you can recognize anything that tells us something about what's happening.
Supposedly, I mean, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I've seen it somewhere, that those golden ladies that you see, the one that's sitting on the throne is supposed to be, like, I don't know if it's the main bad guy but a bad guy of some sort. And it seems like also that this TV spot kind of also confirms more that Nebula is going to be working with the Guardians of the Galaxy this time around.
And so is Rooker.
And Yondu, yeah.
They actually show him controlling that
arrow
that he has. As I said before, you do get the other Groot cute moment, and the original trailer had another big punchline by Dave Bautista. He's doing the do me mind reading thing, and it seems to be continuing in that way. The big surprise that they don't show you on this teaser, but everybody knows about it by now, is that we're going to meet
Star-Lord's father, which is Kurt
Russell once again. Kurt Russell in the mix.
Yeah, we still haven't seen what he looks like yet. But
that's right.
His character's name is Ego the Living Planet. But in the comics, it's actually a living planet.
But is he going to... Well, that's the question.
But supposedly
is he a human or a form, or is he a CGI something?
Yeah, at Comic-Con, they showed his costume. Yeah. He does have a human body at some point, at least. So we don't know exactly what he looks like. And I think there's a Funko figure that was like going around, some pictures for that. And you see him and he looks completely human, just in a really cool robe thing, but maybe he has a separate form or something that we haven't seen yet.
Another trailer we saw again a few weeks ago, and now we get a spot, is for Ghost in the Shell. We talked about this a while back, I think when we did a Luc Besson episode, I think it was. We talked about Scarlett Johansson and the fact that she did a movie for Luc Besson called Lucy. And because of her background with the Avengers, and then doing Lucy, you kind of got the impression from reading some stories that she was kind of angling for her own big solo type of action adventure type of movie. Now, don't get me wrong. Lucy was that in a way. But around that time, the story was floating around that she was maybe trying to get into some major anime real life version of an anime type of movie, and Ghost in the Shell was one of those that was floating around. And, a couple years later, it's in production and she's in it. And what you see on that trailer and what you see on these spots, it just kind of blows you away. It is what I think what Blade Runner was back in 1982 in terms of you have never seen anything like this before. I get that feeling by watching these trailers that they are really going very, very deep in terms of the style, the effects, the gigantic anime influence in terms of how the characters look, how the environments look, how people interact with each other, their clothing, their costumes. It is just outrageous what you're seeing. And I would say that movie, along with Logan, so far from what we've been talking about, is probably my two most anticipated things, on the list as far as I'm concerned. Because in a way, if this movie succeeds, it could kind of open the floodgates for a big anime push that it's been kind of hanging there for a while, but nobody's been able to really give it that little extra push that's needed in order to start making these live action versions of anime. Granted, when The Matrix came out, it had a lot of anime influence about it, but it never really pushed things hard enough to start making some of these classic anime. Akira, for a while, speaking of Keanu Reeves, he was going to be involved apparently in an Akira real live version.
Yeah, they've been working on that for years.
And that never materialized. So it looks like Ghost in the Shell might be this first, introduction to a real live anime type of situation.
And they're redoing, there's another anime called Attack on Titan, which is like a recent one. They made a movie for it in Japan, but now they're making an American version already.
Another movie where they gave us it's funny, they gave us a spot, but they also gave us a link to see a secondary trailer, is a movie called Life, which is a big sci-fi space exploration type of movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds as, they're playing astronauts with a whole bunch of other actors. And it's about basically them finding some sort of life form and wanting to bring it back. In the process, the crew gets infected and they're all fighting with each other, and it could go anywhere. We've seen this formula before. It's the Alien formula, really, but we've seen it many times, which is kind of odd in terms of if you think about it. Why do they keep trying it? I mean, I guess you got to keep trying it every couple of years.
It seems like every year there's like a super big space movie that comes out, and
I mean, a lot of it looks like Gravity in terms of how the effects look.
And so far, all of the ones that have come out have been really successful. I think at some point soon, maybe this movie, I feel like people are going to get bored with, it looks like it's gonna be good, but it looks so generic though at the same time.
A movie that's really more maybe in the horror side is something called A Cure for Wellness. I've seen a trailer already, and they played a longer spot this time, and it's about a guy that has to go investigate like a kind of like a rejuvenation resort, a place where you go to get better. But it seems kind of old-timey the way it looks, and I think it's basically a thriller that turns into a horror film. The guy who plays the lead character is this actor that he was in Chronicle. He was in Spider-Man. He was in all these films. Who knows? This seems to be, out of the whole bunch, the only one that seems to lean towards the horror side. I guess, you want something like that. As long as it's not another schlocky, horror film that ends up in the bottom of the bin of Netflix's, downstreamable crap pile that seems to be growing every day. A different flavor altogether. And once again, I forgot to mention before with the Fast and the Furious film. What is the name of the actual film?
Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious. They're running out of words to combine to make something out of these films. The Rock is also in Fate of the Furious, and The Rock returns again in one of these commercials for Baywatch. If you are a fan of the television show, who isn't? I am not. I couldn't care less. Again, it's different in terms of, all these movies that they're promoting. They're big action-y type of sci-fi, fantasy, superhero. It was the only real, I guess, comedy that they were promoting. And because it's The Rock and what's his kid's name? Efron?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. He's there too. So they're cracking their jokes. It's like, I couldn't care less. but they're promoting it. There's a
that's-
lot of money.
That's going to be a movie that a lot of kids in my school are going to want to see.
They're putting a lot of money into it, so okay, whatever. I guess you do need your big comedies, to come out. The other one that actually we're going to probably see very, very soon is they did a spot for John Wick Part 2, or is it Volume 2?
Yeah, that comes out this weekend.
Yeah, so that's one that we're going to watch. John Wick is a movie that snuck up on most people. I saw it on DVD, Blu-ray, loved it. Very different. And it's funny because if you think about it, if you're reading the script or the story, you're like, yeah, it's just another guy that's on a revenge killing bad guys type of... But it's so damn good. The action sequences are so different. Keanu Reeves, sometimes he nails these roles, and he's perfect.
The
for this role.
cinematography too. I really like the cinematography.
There's a distinct look to this film.
Like in the first one, when you're in his house, like all the shots when he's in the house, like unburying his like armory, and when the guys come in, and it's just amazing.
There is a whole structure and history to what is happening in terms of who this guy is and what his past is like. And with this sequel, they're digging a little deeper, and they're showing you more of this outrageous sub-society of assassins that are out there and how they interact with each other and communicate and go after each other. The trailer, like I said, looks really cool. I noticed a couple of new actors in the mix. Common, one of them, which I remember seeing him in a couple of other movies.
He was in Suicide Squad.
Lawrence Fishburne, which is hilarious because it's, again, talking about the Matrix, it's Neo and Morpheus, like you said, a reunion of the Matrix characters, and I think they're going to kind of wink at each other about it in some shape or form. And there's a bad guy in the trailer that to me it's Justin Bieber. It's some Justin Bieber looking kid that is supposed to be the big thug of the movie, which is this very young looking guy. So I'm sure he's going to take a beating in some shape or form. The last thing I want to mention, going back to television, is the thing that I was the happiest with in terms of they actually gave us something I had not seen before, that you actually get to see it premiered at the Super Bowl, and that is the Stranger Things Season 2. I don't even want to call it a trailer. It's more like a teaser because it's super fast.
Yeah.
It's like a very short trailer or a very long teaser.
Half of it is just 80s footage.
Right. And obviously the theme of the show is very 80s centric, but you do get a couple of quick edited shots of, you do see what appears to be Eleven. You hear her name being called out. You see the kids riding bikes.
They're all in a Ghostbusters outfits.
Yeah, they're in school and they're all wearing Ghostbusters. So I guess maybe it's Halloween or something because the show is premiering, I believe, Halloween this year. I think you see the Sheriff Hopper in one shot. He's kind of like digging or something with a shovel. You see talking about the upside down world, and you see a lot of weird images. And one of them, to me, reminded me it's something right out of Close Encounters, and that is the kid opens up the door, and you see this red-orange sky, and you see the outline of what looks like a giant spider-looking thing, like the size of, 3 or 4 stories high, in the horizon, coming closer to whatever house it is this is happening, whether it's a dream or not or whatever. But to me, that was screaming Close Encounters. It was just such a reference to Close Encounters. That is probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most as far as television from what we saw. And like I mentioned earlier, on the film side, my 2 big things were Logan and Ghost in the Shell. What about you, Kyle? Which ones do you think are your top picks from all the stuff that we saw?
Honestly, I think it would be either Logan and Ghost in the Shell. I mean, honestly, the Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm hoping that since they're bringing back Orlando Bloom, that maybe they're going to make it like really good. And definitely Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm really excited for that too. And then, Stranger Things. I can't wait for that. That was such a good show. And Legion looks really interesting. I'd like to try it, see if I can, because I have so many shows and movies I'm watching. I just hope I can squeeze it into my busy schedule.
I know, it's impossible trying to keep up. The whole thing with streamable services, your Netflix, your Hulus, and your Amazons, there is so much stuff out there that it's impossible. It's just impossible. You cannot keep up. You need to have the flu or something in order to stay home for a couple of days to attempt to just catch up to stuff. I have so many shows that I'm like, okay, soon I'm going to do the second half of this season of that, and that season of this, and this season of that. Yeah. There's just too much stuff out there, and more is coming. And it's it's very difficult to keep up. So hopefully at least with movies we can keep up with them, because keep in mind that the stuff they showed us during these commercials, none of the real big gigantic stuff that I would consider was added. In other words, there was nothing new from Blade Runner, nothing new from Alien. A lot of these big mega pictures that are coming later this year, they didn't seem to want to touch too much upon them.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think. Was
Yeah,
one
Guardians. I mean, they had to give you some basics.
Yeah, because there's Justice League. They still haven't put out a trailer yet. That comes out in November, and then
I'm surprised they didn't give us any. I know there's a Wonder Woman thing floating around now.
Yeah, we did Wonder,
but I don't know if they timed it with the Super Bowl.
I think they released it like right before. Like a lot of these commercials came out like right before the Super Bowl.
But they didn't purposely add a spot during the Super Bowl for Wonder Woman, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I didn't see it in anybody's description of the website. And Wonder Woman, I guess that's a really big DC thing that's coming.
Yeah.
Probably one of the
June or July.
Yeah, that stuff. I mean, or even Aquaman. You figure maybe they can throw you a little bone with Aquaman.
Well, Aquaman doesn't come out till like 2018. That's another year.
But they're done with Wonder Woman. That's in the can, basically. I think they might be just finishing editing it.
Yeah.
Because there's different versions of trailers out there already. But hey, whatever. They do things at their own pace, and you have other events coming up. You have your Comic-Cons, you have your this and your that. So I'm sure there's a timeline for everything. But anyway, I want to thank Kyle as usual for joining me, and I would like to thank you guys for being with us once again, and we will see you soon here at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Look at my ego. You like my ego? I love it!
And, I like creepy. Netflix's, downstreamable crap pile that seems to be growing every day. The Fast and the Furious.